I thought I would try my glasses. I've had these for about a year or so, and in all honesty, my eyesight has been improving, or so the optician said. Um, I had kept the same. I kept the same frames, um, like Clark Kent or something. I was Superman. um, yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure if it's helping me or not. In all honesty, I don't know. Strange, isn't it? How eyesight changed. Anyway, I don't want to derail from the message of this video. So far, the things I've sort of predicted along my journey have actually come to fruition. So I find it quite interesting. So I thought, because of that, I'm going to talk about my predictions for the future, really, in the sense of influencers. I've never been enamored with specific people, the Kardashians, the Beyoncés, all that. When people go mental for them, put them on pedestals, I never saw the fascination with it. I thought I knew they would have their downfall, and I said it well in advance. And that's what's happened. People have just lost interest. Because what I saw was people putting others on a pedestal who actually weren't investing in them. So they receive your praise, they receive the recognition, they receive all the energy and even the finances. And those who are actually interested in them are not even being supported by them. They don't get any recognition, they don't really care about you. So you're investing in all these people who don't actually care at all about your life at all, like in general. And people began to see that, and they began to get fed up, really, of realizing that they're flashing like all this luxury in your face, which at first was interesting because you get into a glimpse into part of a world really that you don't get to see. But in the end, it was being a bit boastful, I guess. And that's what I was seeing. So that was interesting. So then the new age of the influencers was dawned, and again, people taking advantage of opportunity, and it started going too negative, where people are just looking to leech all the time. And again, I said these influencers, the current age of influencers, are going to die out, and they're going to really, really struggle. They'll be like infighting, so they'll be competing with each other all the time because they're literally clutching at their last bits of scraps, effectively. And I say these things well ahead of time. I say these things in the height of its heyday, where it seemed ridiculous. These people are literally at the top of their whatever they're thriving, shall we say? And I could see it, and I've literally been watching it. So the TikTok stars, if you like, those. Well, if you think of it in the UK, I think a lot of people know these sort of ones who many of us would consider cretins. Really, they're just very low vibrational. You could argue low life, really. Anything to be relevant, anything to gain money, and literally at the expense of others. And again, they're not doing anything to help other people. They're just literally expecting everybody to give to them for free. So their life can improve. They can they can live off this supposed new reality that I always knew was short-lived. And it's going to be hard for them to accept the fact that they're just common people. They're just literally average. It's average at best. They don't have any discernible talents, skills. And, their morals are completely out of whack. So the life they're living isn't sustainable. And they're not going to see that because they're living on a high of taking off people. And that's where the influence was going. And that was the transition period between the celebrity status that people were fed up with, these glorified celebrities that people were just realizing were actually plain boring. It wasn't actually interesting at all. So when celebrities talk for the most part and they tell their stories or an antidote or something, you realize it's actually quite baseless and dull because they live in this like bowl, really, that's not as interesting as you thought it would be. You'll actually find the average person has far more stories to tell and it's actually far more interesting. So all of a sudden, celebrity status isn't so relevant now. So again, then we got these other people who sit there on lives and things, constantly just trying to gain and gain and gain and gain. And it gets irritating fast. So who's replaced them at the moment? I'm noticing what's replaced them is people who share more of an intimate side of their life around their home. But in all honesty, it started off endearing at first. And even I was like, this is refreshing. It's something a little bit different. If it's a couple, for instance, you'd see they're having it's a bit of banter, it's a bit of fun. But eventually, people chase the money, and it always comes down to money. And I'm seeing personally with myself how I feel about it, and it tends to work out that way. I feel a lot of it now is artificial. So it went from being what I considered authentic to now it's a case of whatever they can do to get attention in the same way the other influencers work. It's just in a different avenue. So a lot of the things now, it's not organic, it's fake. So people have set up set pieces on purpose, and you just watch the content thinking that's been articulated, like it's been organized beforehand. So they press record after they've already organized what's going to happen. So no longer is it spontaneous and it's natural. It's curated. And I think people are naturally going to get bored fast of this. And so what's going to happen next if you think about it? If you just got to look at the trend, the way it's falling. I think personally, this is where maybe my content comes in. And I'm not saying that to promote myself. I've just recognized that, like, I'm in a situation where the opportunities haven't been there, and I don't understand why. But you got to think, where's society at? Are they ready for that? And I just had a little reflection and realized, wait a minute, that does fit in quite nicely. I think personally, it's going to transition from people being fascinated and actually obsessed, because there's an obsession a lot of the time with other people's lives. I think people are going to invest more in themselves. I think there's going to be less fascination of other people's lives, so there'll be less interest in it. So social media for me it will die. I think it's dying down. Personally, I think there's a keen interest at the moment, but I think it's slowing. I think there's a desire. Again, I'm going to talk from my own thing. I think there's a desire to have relevant information, relevant news. So as things happen around the world, we want to be keenly interested, and we want to know what's going on. But I think like windows into people's personal lives is less interesting. It's more about investing in our own lives. Like, why was you watching a celebrity, for instance, in their homes, like the Kardashians? It's boring. It's irrelevant. It doesn't even matter. Why not focus on your own life? But people couldn't see that. Then they start following strangers who are doing very similar things to them. At first was natural. Now it's augmented in the same way these reality shows are augmented. So what's the next transition? The next transition is to literally focus on your own life. Instead of having a window into other people's lives and be fascinated by it, it's literally be fascinated with yourself. So once you start investing in yourself, all of a sudden, these other people who have platforms, who consider themselves new age celebrities, they're just going to be the average Joe again. And all these people who have had these privileges or opportunities, they're going to have a real hard time transitioning back, because they've elevated their status has been elevated. And it's going to be really hard to accept that they're just average. They're just normal people. What discernible talent do you have? And that's what you've got to look at when you are in these positions. If you're literally just a family, for instance, and you're just sharing your day-to-day activities, well, everybody could do that. Everybody could have a camera in their day-to-day activities, and it'd be just as interesting. It's just that most people prefer privacy. So it's not that you're special, it's that you just put a camera on. Now, I'm not saying that about every single creator, but overall, what's the talent? Now, some people do have a presence on camera, so maybe they'll last if they're genuine, or they've got something special about them. Maybe they've got comedic timing, and this comedy is their thing. So there'll be maybe people who evolve through it, but there'll be a lot of people who get caught out, I think, in the same way the current age, the ones who do the lives, there's less interest in it now. You actually see it. People are, like, for instance, if you go on TikTok, people are less inclined to keep tapping like on the screen. So people are going mental, going, tap the like. I don't even watch it, but I just see people's recordings of it. People are not donating their money. They've got enough problems in their life. They don't need to keep giving to someone who isn't even grateful. So like I said, I think I can see it now, where people are just, rather than keep looking over other people's lives, be fascinated by it, it's going to be a case of, I'm fascinated with my own life. It's more important, with the limited time I have on this planet, to elevate myself as far as I can go. I want to be as successful as I can be. I want a stable home life. I want to travel. I want to have all these experiences. I don't want to keep watching other people have these experiences. I want to start living this life myself. So every time you sit there staring and watching other people like you're at an aquarium, you're not doing anything. You're literally just sitting still. It's giving the feeling that you're contributing, or you're having that experience with them. It's a false image, really. So it's artificial. You artificially think that you're doing something by watching them people, but you're not. You're stagnating. And a lot of us, you go on social media, you lose so much time to it. So guess what? Your life is not even moving forward. Your life's stagnant. And meanwhile, these people are benefiting from that. So your stagnancy is actually uplifting their lives, and then you get to live vicariously through them. But that's not living. So again, I think people are going to start investing in themselves, and I think there'll be less reliance and relevance to all these supposed famous people, because you're going to realize that actually it's really important that your life is one to be celebrated, and you'll internally celebrate it yourselves. Don't have to keep looking left. Don't have to keep looking right. You literally just tunnel vision. How can I uplift myself? How can I improve my life? How can I focus and stop giving so much of myself financially and time to all these things that really are not that important? And again, that's when the other people are going to struggle to adapt to the change because they're used to the attention. They crave the attention. They can't handle it. So you'll see them have a meltdown. And you'll see them competing. And then when new things become relevant, you'll see them jumping on trends. And that's why you see it all the time with these trend people. I talk about it a lot. I actually hate it. I just think, where's the originality? Is it that hard to think for yourself? Because you're going to find yourself unstuck because the trends are getting boring. It gets recycled. And again, if people start pushing away from social media in the sense of entertainment, they use it just solely for news or something, what does that mean? That means those who provide up-to-date information, up-to-date news are going to be the ones maybe who become the next influencers that are of interest because they're actually providing up-to-date information. Some people try to jump on that, but whether they can do it to the same standard other people do remains to be seen. But again, social media influencers is always a continual evolution. And like I said, I always see the current waves. I see the time coming to an end. I see some of it is shorter lived than other time periods. And that's how rapid the change is. But yeah, I think that personally, this reality stuff is boring. It's irrelevant. It's so superficial. It's crazy. Like even you see with these Love Islands and things where these single people go and they have no respect for themselves. They have no respect for the other people they're interacting with. And that's considered entertainment. And it's like, I don't see what's entertaining about that. It's just trash to me. But but that's only my opinion of it. So to be famous for having no dignity, it seems crazy to me. But yeah, so we'll see how this plays out. Like I said, I always speak about ahead of time. So I just think fame in itself is dying out. It's not important anymore. I think people be less enamored by people that get starstruck. It's like, what's the point? A lot of time, if you see a movie star, for instance, it's like, oh my God, it's because you see them so much. Maybe you know. I think a lot of time it's because you saw them from childhood or you're just naturally attracted to them. And it can get overwhelming in that sense. But overall, when you break it down, these people are just people. They've just either got wealth or they've got opportunity or there's status attached to it. But overall, they're just a person, you know. And a lot of them don't even ask for the fame, though, to be totally honest. So it's not like they're craving it, although some, of course, do. And they'll use it to their advantage. But I think it's less fascination with it all, really, because you're so focused on your own life. It's like it's not so interesting what someone else is doing. You know, sometimes you can use it as a bit of inspiration, but overall, the focus will be on people, and that's where I see it, to be honest. So I think it's fading, but social media always evolves. Well, it has through history so far since its implementation. But maybe I think people might start sharing a little bit less of their lives. I think maybe they want to share their achievements, but I think there'll come a point where there's so much jealousy and toxicity surrounding people, especially when you realize, like when you reflect upon your life, you realize there's an awful lot of people close by, like who know you, and they're the ones you'd think would be your biggest supporters and cheering you on. But as soon as you start to elevate beyond them, you realize they're not actually supporting you at all. They're just trying to make themselves comfortable. So your elevation now makes them uncomfortable, so no longer are they supporting you. In fact, they might be criticizing, trying to bring you down. And then it's a case of, do you appease them or do you just go after your dreams and goals? Because keeping yourself small isn't going to help you at all. Effectively, you're better off with a small circle of people you trust than a load of people who don't support and only hinder progress. But yeah, I'm interested to watch and see from the sidelines really how this evolves, but I can see it already ahead of time. And I always see people just trying to latch on. You see people who have nothing in common, or they were enemies at one point online. All of a sudden, they're attaching themselves to each other because they see opportunity. If they can attach to them, then they can reach their audience, and it benefits both of them. They can both reach each other's audience, and it's like on their own. It's the star's fading. Come together, we can keep the star burning a little bit longer. And then they all, like some of it recently over the past maybe 6 months, a year, a lot of them have been fighting each other and stuff, like trying to benefit that way. They just saw it as an opportunity to make some money. Get no dignity, no respect. They consider that entertainment, and it's like, yeah, again, it's just stupid. It's just parading like gladiators, really, just being stupid though, amateur level. Anyway, that's my thought process on it, really, and I just thought I'd share it beforehand. Now, I'm not expecting it overnight, of course, but I don't think it'd be too long, personally. Just by the way things are sort of evolving and the way I look at things, I just think now that's boring, that's boring, that's boring. And again, it's that artificial. I think that's what people are going to get fed up with. Fake. They're going to want real. You want authentic. You want something genuine. It's just this. I personally hate all this fake stuff. Something that's set pieced. I was trying to watch a TV show the other day. I think it was Clarkson. So in the UK, we've got Jeremy Clarkson. I've really enjoyed his farm. Now, sometimes things are exaggerated because he likes to, he makes things bigger than it is and fumbles more than he would. And, but I feel the further he gets into anything he does, the more it becomes set pieces. So he's running his farm, and I watched an episode. It's only the first episode, I think. I couldn't even watch it. I got about 15 minutes in and I turned it off because I realised straight away, I'm like, nah. I think he was operating his tractor, and he was fumbling with the controls, and he started digging holes and going, and he was acting all confused, and he was acting like it was a mess, and it's like, and I just watched him, and I just thought, nah, you set all that up for the cameras. It's pathetic. Like, you didn't need to do that. It was just one step too far. The counterweight at the front of the tractor, it would have been lowered or something, so it dug into the mud. But not being funny, this is a guy that he was driving cars for years doing Top Gear. He knows how to use machines. That was just ridiculous. That was not just an oversight. It was for the cameras. And again, once it becomes obviously fake, it's like the whole thing then, you lose interest because how much of this is artificial? It's no longer entertaining. It was more entertaining that was getting a fly on the wall of how a farm is run. Watching someone maybe who's outside who doesn't normally run a farm, it was interesting. And I think the first few series was him being honest. Like, I think he obviously a level of exaggeration, but not entirely fake. And straight away, first episode of the new series, clearly fake setups. It's like, well, this is going to be like this the whole way through. Then I don't like this over the top dramatics, And again, I don't think other people will too. I think people are going to get fed up with this. It's like, you just want real. Why can't people just be real? It's just ridiculous. It's not entertaining to have all this fake shit. And I think that's what I'm saying. I think the world is going to change. People don't like, I think artificial is just got been and done. This fake nonsense. And I think hopefully, look, I'm not saying this is necessarily going to change, but I would say hopefully, personally, I'll hope people just become more natural. If you take away the mindset, the interests, I hope people just become more natural and just appreciate their own bodies and things, and just like stop trying to augment yourself to fit in with everybody else, You see everybody else has got a tan, they go on holidays. Now everybody's got fake tans. You look like Oompa Loompa, something from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, It's like, I can understand. It's like, look, up to people what they want to present as. But it becomes too much. It just becomes a bit ridiculous. Like, why can't you just appreciate yourself for who you are, Some people shave their eyebrows and they tattoo them on. It's like some use a pencil and it goes all crazy. And it's like, you look pretty naturally. Why augment yourself? Because some of these people that do things, there's no going back. I've seen people with, like, their lips look freaking massive, and it's like, that's not attractive. It looks like a baboon's ass, if I'm being honest. That's just being transparent there. How's that attractive? Just be natural. Still don't have to exaggerate something to be pretty. I just think natural beauty is beauty. And that's only my opinion now. I'm only saying I hope that people begin to just love themselves for who they are, And of course, people will always have an affiliation, really, with doing whatever they feel makes them feel good, and there's nothing wrong with that, of course. So if someone wants tattoos, they want piercings, if it makes them feel good and it's part of their identity, why not? But don't do it for anything other than you want to do it for you, though. When you're doing it to impress someone else, that's ridiculous. Like, because what you'll find is the ones you was trying to get attract to you probably still won't be attracted, and the ones that would naturally have been attracted to you are no longer attracted to you. So you find yourself in this grey area where now you're like a monster. That's just me being absolutely honest with that. I'm not trying to be negative, but I think when you go down this authentic path, another path of genuine, and so it's about integrity. And then I think if you embrace who you are and just begin to love yourself, I think things naturally gravitate to you. You become a magnet. And like I said, I just think natural is beautiful, personally. yeah, anyway, I thought I'd just give my little side there. That we see how it plays out. I could be completely wrong, of course. It's just I was looking back, thinking I was saying this years ago about the Kardashians and Beyonce, and like I never saw the fascination with it. Then I saw the other wave of people coming through who were just sitting there like leeches on social media, and I just thought, wow, these are cretins. They got no manners. They got no respect. They got no dignity. I don't see what the attraction is to that, and I can see that fading, and it's faded. And I said there'll be infighting, and people will be jumping, like latching onto each other just for dear life, really, just to try and salvage whatever they can while it's available. And then I just saw the new wave come through, like I said, where you got people like sharing their lives in their home, but that fades as well. Like when people break up relationships, for instance, it's like now all of a sudden it's no longer interest because people still think they're the star, but the star was the couple. People were interested in the couple together. They're not so interested in the individual. And then again, like I've always said as well, those that have the camera on all the time to that extent where they're constantly doing live content or it's just all the time, when do you turn the camera off? When do you actually have time to be real? So I think that's why people lose sense of reality and they start going down that path of chasing the money because that's what they can't turn it off because they realize their income is attached to this now. That is their livelihood. So then it's like, well, how can we get the audiences that are interested? What can we do next? What can we do next? Rather than just be natural, because it's obviously repetitive, they start coming up with other things, and that's when you just start to lose that authentic style, really. But anyway, we'll see how it all plays out over the next few years, but I can see it changing quite heavily, really. And like I said, I see people just latching on for dear life to stay relevant, not realizing that the world continually moves forward. And eventually, it's really important that people invest in themselves. So, like, what's the point of propping someone up if your life's hell? If you're struggling all the time, what's the point of propping someone else up while you struggle? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it has to start with ourselves. So anyway, but yeah, like I say, I see people all the time, and they get angry when the people are not helping them. It's like, no, it's not someone's responsibility to do that for you. Just because you feel entitled, you got to have a bit of a reality check, mate. That's not. You have to get a reality check because that's not sustainable, and you won't be. I don't want to use people's names because I don't want to give people a platform. I've seen people's journeys very early on, who are now becoming incredibly irrelevant, and people are laughing at them. And even I was like, "That's not. They're nuts." In all honesty, and they're not. They got no discernible talent without being rude, and there's just no redeeming factors apart from them just being leeches. So eventually, it's like, what are you doing? Because what people need to do is look at themselves. If you're expecting people to invest in you and you're not providing anything of substance to people, so you're not investing in them, but you are expecting everyone to invest in you, you've got to think about like the service you're providing and then think to yourself, if you come across that content, would that be interesting to you? And if it wouldn't, then why do you think people should invest in your content then? Because people just think because they're so special, it's like, it's not really how the world works. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to mention names because I don't want to give people a platform, so I'm not going to do it. But we'll see how this age of the influencer fame and things, we see how this evolves.